Alright, welcome back everyone, Mark Session here again. So what we'll do today is we'll follow this whole process, and we'll create a rock base and build a tree upon those rocks. And this tree will actually follow the shape of the rocks, so the roots will just crawl into the rocks looking for some soil. So that would be it's kind of a bonsai-like look we try to achieve with an old big tree, and that will hold the tree house. So right now this is mostly a design phase, so we'll go through a lot of modeling, but we are not just modeling, we are tinkering on how it should look. So many decisions could be made during this process. So here's the rock. This is the decimated version. So if I'm turning on Shift F, you will see the polyframe. So here's the key if you see it on your user interface. So this is what we have. And basically, ZBrush, this is a project file. So what you have to know that ZBrush is holding the images in the file. So this generates a larger file size. So if I'm looking for the exact file, we have about 42 megabytes of data because of all the bitmaps and normal maps and everything that was created. So the actual rock chunk is a lot smaller. Now let me show you what to do, because if you want to have multiple pieces and you want to handle them easily, the best way to do it is using the decimated versions. And if you export it out to Blender or whatever application, you just have to use the simple normal maps and the texture map. And of course, if you want to paint it further in another application, you just have to load the texture in. You can paint it in Substance or even Blender. But the painting here is done. Okay, so there we are. Just to clean up the files. So we have the texture map. Texture map should be turned off, and we have displacement map, and we will turn that off as well. And we have the normal map, and we don't want to make it visible in any ways. So this is the base model, and as you see, my numbers, this is about 6,000, slightly above 6,000. And then this is the only sole model, so we don't have to worry too much in this case. And I'm just saving it out and looking for the save path. So this is my save path and rock chunk decimated ZTool, and this tool could be used. You can also export an OBJ if you wish, just for safety, and you can open up easily that in any application. So let me save this. Yep, and so let me just look at the folder, and as you see, this is still a high thing because of the cache data that it holds. So even if you remove those images, they are not there. So let me show you that you will not able to find them. So if you click on, you will not able to be there, but it holds some data. So this is why it's the best if you just in ZBrush, yes, initialize and load the tool, the rock decimated, and drag it out, press T, and here we go. And if we save it this for now, and that would be number 3, that will be a different size. So let me just show this. So here, this is about 1 megabyte. Okay, so because of the data difference, right? So keep that in mind if you don't want to build a huge scene, or you don't have storage space. This is a good thing to know, and this is one of the reasons why we have tool files, just to reduce the data load on a computer. Which one is, we have quick saves and everything, so that can speed that can add up a lot. So here we have, this is the fast shader I'm using now, maybe madcap gray, yep, a little bit softer, and choosing V, Ctrl Shift D, and copy, and I'm just populating now this rock piece, so moving it around, and maybe slightly up, and Ctrl Shift D, and moving it around. So right now I'm just building basically a base for this rock surface. If you check that, we have this little fin, and this little fin, when you grab it, it's screen relative, so you don't have to worry about how the arrows are moving around. And there we are. So if we save it, it will be a lot smaller. So let me just duplicate it again. and move it around and rotate it around and see how it goes. And I will also just scale up so that tree will sit somewhere. Here, scale up and down, rotate in this degree. Okay. Oh yes, I like it. Here. And nothing is written in stone at this stage. So when you do something like this, tinkering around, don't tie yourself. Don't try to make it too early to finalized. We still have to make decisions, look for various solutions, and especially if you create your own idea, you need to keep that in mind. That it takes time to create the best solution. Okay, so let me just copy it again, adding some variety. I will just rotate this around, and because this chunk is designed to be rotated and manipulated this way, it won't be an issue. Okay, so this is the first thing. Now it's time to create a ground, at least kind of an initial ground, just to be able to see where we go. So insert, we can insert a plane 3D, and of course this plane 3D is small, and the size, this is the back side of it, this is the front side, so this is how we create it, and holding down Shift key will allow us to rotate 90 degrees. And just let me place it somewhere, and we will use it as an indicator of, okay, this is the part we actually see. Now, it's not a problem, but this is just a phenomenon that you have to just admit that this is how it looks. So there's no thickness. Now, there is a double function, so you can make it double rendered, but two-faceted. This function is actually called reach. You can reach it out for the display properties, so double. And of course, insert is in ZTool and insert. There we go. What else we can do if it's not enough, you can actually use the dynamic subdivision that we use for clothing. So dynamic subdivision, dynamic turn on. We want to add some thickness and no smoothing needed. So when you, this is the maximum thickness, by the way, so you can move it around and just, you know, playing with the level. So the tree will sit somewhere here, and we have a bunch of rocks. Some parts will be used, some parts not. Right now we are just in the design phase, so at first we have to have the general look, the general idea, and once we have it, then we can refine and make sure everything is matching correctly. Okay, so let me move this around and choose a rock and look at here. So we have this subtool, and just to organize things a little bit, so let me just add a little bit more because there'll be a lot of chunks here and there. So I will select this guy and put it on the very bottom. So Shift and tap on this. So now it's on the very bottom. And select the first chunk, and Ctrl F will create a folder for us, and that will be rock chunks. Now the reason we are creating folders is because upon export, you will be able to quickly select what you want to export, send it through, and load it back in a Blender, for example. So here, and this is the next one, and if we're going up, it will just instantly put it in a folder. Okay, the folder is open, this is below, and I'm going up, and we can go and put everything in the folder. So there we are, and if we are closing this up, we still have a selection, as you see. And I can click on anything else. I have the selection live, and I'm pressing Ctrl Shift and D. Yeah, and all subtools within the folder is selected. So what does it mean? Let me hit cancel, open up the folder, Ctrl Shift D, and move it around. And what it does, it will duplicate the model, but it will not duplicate the entire folder. Okay, so this is why you get the warning message. If you see the warning message, please pay attention. take your time, read it. So if you open this up, you will see that this new model is generated within. So that's a kind of a neat thing to do. You don't have to worry, you don't have to put everything back in the folder, and it will be automatically handled. So this background is a little bit dark, so let me go in here and choose a somewhat lighter backdrop. Not too crazy light, but it was too harsh in a difference. So let me reduce the size and maybe a few more rocks. This one's already big, and just for efficiency I will create it and going up, and there we go. I think it was a wrong scale, and let me see the difference. Is it, if I'm rotating around, I will see a different face of this rock piece. Okay, good. Now the idea here is that the tree will grow in this middle patch, and then the roots will go around. So we will have a few smaller rock. Shift E and copy, and of course, if you have multiple rock chunks and pieces, that just makes it even better. But it's not a necessity. So now I have that one over there, maybe stretched out a bit. That's also possible. Of course, you have to be careful stretching, because we have the further parts like the textures and other things. So let me just have this, and I will keep a distance now and just have it in front. Okay, so we can have some room. You don't have to make it so tight. And Shift D, I'm sorry, and take it back and flip it around. Yeah, this will be nice. Let me reset rotation just to make it easier on me. And there we go. Okay, having the fins. Alright, turning on perspectivity can help. This one, I think this is a little bit boring this way, so yep, the contour is better now. So it's nice, and if we wish later on we can add to this, but right now for just starting the roots and all the stuff, it's working fine. Ctrl Shift D, and what we do need here, we'll create a platform like a terrace here, or a little entry. So here will be the tree, and here will be the entry for the tree. So let me just, and for that reason, I'm creating a few supporting rocks, and that's it. And it divides a little bit the scene. Okay, so that's fairly nice. Let me save it as is. And this is the 4th incremental version, and just talking about file size. So file size is about 22 megabytes with all the rocks that we have created. Which one is? It's a numerous piece, so we have quite a few now. It says 16, or yeah, it's hard to see, but it's about 16 pieces or 15. Okay, so there we go. And it's time to work on the tree itself, just to catch up with the proportions. So for that, I'm clicking away. I don't want to include this in the folder in any ways, and insert, and going with the ZSphere. Now this ZSphere is, let me turn off perspectivity and hit on W, move. This ZSphere is created somewhere. I don't see it, but if you turn on transparency, you will find it here at the bottom. If you don't find it, I don't know if you know about this, but if you have this single line of tools, that's the default layout. You can go very near to the edge. It's hard to find it, but once you tap your pen, you can hold down Control, and you can slide it away up and down. Okay. Again, it's hard to catch, but if you catch it, you can hold down Control. Now, if you have a wider area like this, you can actually create a long custom toolbar for yourself, which one is quite handy because most of these are just not that used in that much. But this double size is pretty convenient, so you can see it for yourself. Now here's our sphere, and let me first plus V and move it around. Now the biggest difference just for quick recap for ZSpheres, the biggest difference is that ZSpheres are not working with the gizmo. They are working with only with the W, E, and R keys. So E is for scaling, R is for rotation, but mostly we are using move and Q. That's for drawing, move, and scale. Okay, rotate is also handy, but usually that is for corrections and not really for creating the stuff. So let me hit it and keep it on scaling. So I'm moving this down and creating a chunk. Let me turn off transparency and move it around. So it's constantly switching back and forth, and I'm placing it here in the middle. So right now I don't worry about the roots or everything. My biggest concern is the overall size and maybe the branch size at this moment. So let me press Q. And if we are in Q mode, draw mode, we can start out a sphere, drag it out in a decent size. Now the other thing is, don't forget that when you are editing these spheres, the best approach is if you're using a small brush size. So the brush size is not, if you're using bigger brush, when you are altering the position of something, let me press move, it may alter the position of the neighboring joints as well. So this is what you need to avoid, so try to keep it low. Now let me hit move and draw and create a few branches. So I'm creating this branch and moving around. And as you see, I'm not using perspectivity, and I'm not worrying about too much this stuff. Just simply creating and moving it around. And Q and pull it and V. There we go. And going from top, the same thing. We can still go in create mode and pick an area and pull it out and just move it around. Now, a few branches will be created, and I will also switch to move things around, scale it. Maybe it's too much, so scale it down. Once the first initial units are created, then it will be a lot easier. Now, as you see, if we are selecting a link and using the scale, it will link up everything. Same with move. If we are selecting this, it will move quite a few things around. So if you want to do some changes, it's really easy. So for this reason, even if you are, for example, starting, let me start another branch here. So Q draw mode, drawing it up, using move, Q draw. If you're holding shift, then it will just generate the same size. So Q draw, holding shift, and it will be the same size, and then you can just move it away. So when you are working in this manner, it will be fairly flat and horizontal, so you don't have to worry too much about the overall look and orientation of the branch, because later on you can always modify it. And one good approach is if you're using only the fewest number of joints, ZSpheres, if possible. So don't try to make it look like exactly as wood branches early on, because the more points you have, the harder to control the whole thing. So if you have a little bit less, then you can just move it around. Maybe this branch is going lower. This will be kind of a hanging part, and there will be maybe here another branch wife work. So Q and hitting in here. I'm moving around. So moving this down, and we can play with that. Okay, so one more thing, maybe these are the front, in my head, in my imagination, I can place the tree house here. I'm not sure if it's too high already. If it is too high, we can go with the V and drag this whole thing. We can also use the Alt key, and when we are using the Alt key and the specific joint, we can actually move the whole thing together. So right now everything is moving down, and I can just pull this up. So it's up to you. The Alt key can handle a lot of things. So I'm using this joint is selected. I'm using the Alt key. So that's good for design. This is one of the benefits of having the ZSpheres. So I'm gonna press A, and this is how the low-res mesh looks. Now, of course, we want and we can edit this. Let me press Shift F. And water density. Okay, so water density is something needs to be refined, because we will sculpt on this, but this way it doesn't work. So where we are, here we are, adaptive skin. This is the preview. Again, if you press A, it will bring you to preview. Now the problem is that we have two types of density. This density is the mesh generation that you have. If you want to use Dynamesh for for character work, usually this is the result. Usually you do this, like density is 4, resolution is about 128. If you press A, this is how it looks. So it's a fairly dense mesh, but it's good for sculpting. But it's rounded, nice and clean, so you can go ahead. But when you are editing something that needs to be UV edited, corrected, and basically you don't want to create thousands and thousands of bytes of data, gigabytes of data, then the approach is different. So first of all, reduce the Dynamesh resolution, and then you will have a simple stuff. Now, when you reduce the Dynamesh resolution, you will see something here. Density value is actually a subdivision thing. So when you press Ctrl D, you will see this. So if you press Shift D, you can walk up and down in the resolution. All right, it's not that discussed part of the adaptive skin that you can do this, but it's great for base meshes and great for complex shapes like this, stags or things, corals, and other elements, woven objects, laces, etc. So if we press D, we are just basically walking up in the resolution and up until going 4. Now let me just reduce it, and this is kind of a good resolution, maybe 2. Yeah, so this is something we can look for. So when I'm pressing A, now the model will be presented this way. Alright, so we can always press A and look for the part. Now it's time to think about the tree house itself, the proportions, the entry, and these things in general. So because right now even if it's promising, it's a little bit hard to control what and when to model. So the first thing, I will create a cube. So subtool, you can go with insert if you wish. Is the ZSphere model. I will leave it as it is now in the skin mode. And insert, and going with the cube, and zoom up the cube, and I can lift it up. The reason I'm not lifting up, I will just explain in a second. So I have this allow click the solo button, which one allows me to quickly use this solo function. This allow to quick the solo is hidden somewhere in the preferences. Maybe it's edit, and yep, edit. So it's if you don't know where to find, it's hard to find, but allow click to solo. This is a nice feature, so if you click again, it will go back on and off. Alright, so if you have multiple parts and you have to edit a lot, this can do wonders. Right, so There we are. And what I will use, this has so many faces for polygon modeling. It's pretty useless. This one meant to be sculpted. But we have an initialize function. And if you remember initialize working, so when you have an object, when you're starting fresh with a different object, so whatever, creating a cube, and this cube is here, then your initialize is looking like this. That you have all the values. You can reduce the size, twist it. Oh, this is so nice. Okay, and then you have to click on the make polymesh. But what you do is, if you have this one and you have initialize on, you have something totally different. And these are great little tools to starting out and quickly create base cubical, cylindrical, spherical meshes. I will just set it to 1, 1, 1 and hit cube. And now it's even smaller. I will click away, and then you can also turn on solo, and then I'm able to see this little cube. And then I will switch to move and move it away. The reason I did this is, if you start moving away, don't be surprised. You may experience that when you click on a cube, it will snap back again, and even your gizmo remains somewhere here, so you have to press the recenter. So this is a little bit of an odd thing. Just wanted to show it to you. So first you create it. If you're satisfied, you can just lift it up, then click again. Now you have the model somewhere here floating in the air, and just scale it up. And we are just moving this one to be the treehouse. All right. So again, we are designing things and organizing stuff. Even if you're working in a team, for example, you can create a quick layout just by placing these, and that's a huge thing, because you can just tell, okay, this is what we have to work on for today or next time. And because we have no other edges inside, scaling is not an issue. And I want to just duplicate it. And as you see, if possible, we don't really want to model from one single piece. I will just increase it. This will be a kind of a balcony. And move it around. There's a little bit of offset. Okay. Maybe it's front. So we have this thing that's running all across. So maybe here someone can walk around, and here there's a little bit more space, and that's it. Now what you have to observe is, let me turn on perspectivity because it adds a lot more. So this is how it looks. The background should be somewhat brighter. Back, not that much, but somewhat brighter, or even darker. No, it's a little bit brighter. Alright, so we are able to see what's going on. I'll have to turn off allow click to solo. So right now this is what we have. And the reason why we have to start earlier with the design is because the tree branches. Okay, yes, you can generate the tree. Yes, you can generate so many things. But as soon as you start to create complexity, then you're losing control. So this is why ZSpheres, sometimes it's a good approach if you have very specific needs. And in a project like this is a very specific need. Now, compared to the size of the tree, this cabin looks to be a little bit small. So I will just increase the size and look for that, especially if we have so thick branches. So I will just keep this in a higher volume, and I like this as is. Now for proportions, we will use a figure soon, but right now this idea I like a lot. My biggest problem is that this side is a little bit empty. So just let me go back to the ZSphere tree, and allow, or we can hit solo and create another few branches. So Q, and lift this up, and Q, and just move it around, Q. And you can also click inside. If you are in draw mode, you can click inside, and then you're able to add a little bit of more personality, more randomness to the branches. So, but we'll do this after we have the initial look. Okay, so we're looking for directions. We're looking for volume that's carved out from the 3D space. How much volume is occupied by the branches, and then once we have this finalized, then will we fine-tune things, because otherwise you're just losing focus too early. Okay, so Q and maybe a branch here, and Q just to add a little bit. Okay, that's nice. Moving things around, and that's it. And also rotation, so we can now rotate this up, and this may be a good camera angle, so let me just go from the solo mode. So now this is a little bit hidden, so if we want to add more, this may be the right angle, the right branch, so we can start from here. And yeah, so that can grow a lot better. So Q, adding, and just to have a little bit. Q, divide, create, move it around. Q, divide, move it, and good. Okay, so we're going in this way. Correct. Here, this big branch. So I can believe that this one is laying down here. That looks nice. However, this should be moved a little bit to the bottom. Maybe this one as well, just to make sure that there's enough room for the support design. And here, this one is definitely too high, so we can add to it. Now, here's a situation where you can consider a few things, like here, of course, it's straight, but if you think of it that this one is integrated with the tree a lot better and not just put it on the top, then you can add another joint here. Make sure that joint helps us to create the look. And Q, and even here, so it supports this whole thing a little bit better. Press A, and there we go. So if it goes transparent, usually that's only because it's too close, but it doesn't mean it's you know, out of the possibility. All right, so there we are. Now this is a very, very specific stump in here, so we should move this around, move this to a little bit lower, so adding some room beneath it. And then we will be able to see underneath, maybe a few things hanging from this design. So there we are. Okay, so this is the initial concept, and we'll progress from here. But I want to do an experiment. I'm looking for an experiment for this. So hitting Tab will allow us to go a little bit wider screen. So let me just hide away the dividers and switch to the application I want to look for, and this is called krea.ai. So krea.ai is actually can show a few AI generated versions. So this is the link. So krea.ai, if you register, you can use it. There's a free mode. There's 3 different pricings. If you are interested, you don't necessarily have to use it that way. But if you register, you will not. You won't get annoying pop-ups. But here's the process. So in the generate, we have this AI strength value, which will be very useful. We have this image, and if we are typing in a prompt, it will use this image as a base, and it will appear in as a source. Now, how much it originates from your image. It depends on how you adjust your AI strength and of course your prompts you have here. But right now we are not working with this. We are working with a screen sharing process. Now I have this record tab here, so let me just slide it away. It's just very slow. Okay, so here is this text to image. This is the standard one when you have only the prompt. This is the image to image where you are loading an image and you use it as a source. But here we have a screen to image. So select window or screen, and that will be ZBrush, and I will allow it, and that will be here. So now I will go back, reduce the size, and going in here, let me just drop it and adjust the size. This is weird, so this will be weird. Don't be surprised to adjust. It's not the fastest to adjust either. I've seen this in a camera code tutorial. So let me press F. And the Max on ZBrush YouTube channel, there's Art Kermakian, excuse me for butchering the name, Kermako, and he showed this process. So right now we have this item. Okay, yeah, this bring to front, which was great. Okay. So we have this image, and as you see, as I'm moving this around, the AI is updating as well. Now AI strength is pretty strong, so I will reduce it a little bit, and it will just recall a structure with the rocks, a few things. Now let me just play the Treehouse. And then we have, okay, so this, we have some ideas for now. Okay, so Treehouse, and maybe lowering the AI strength will bring us a little bit better. Okay, so now we have some foliage. This is just too strong. The original image. There we go. Okay, Treehouse and log built Treehouse, and looking around, log built, just Treehouse abandoned. Let me play it. Abandoned Treehouse. And adding some AI strength and see what it does. Okay, this is too much. All right. Now, if you are, so this was a good approach, and I like this idea that it has a roof and it's not flat. So that's a kind of nice thing. Let me just switch to ZBrush and rotate it around and see how it updates and how it allows the changes. Okay, this is also interesting to have kind of a see-through mode, so that tree is cut up. Here, this solution, as you see, we have these rails going around, and then these are the supporting beams. And another interesting design idea that we can borrow from this is we have the tree shape, but there is a supporting structure that's like caging the tree. So we have a supporting beams, and that is helping us in a way. Okay, so see-through mode, I don't know if it's worth it to make it this way, but this caging is really handy for designing the structure. This little ladder-like thing, that's also funny and interesting. So it's mistakenly, this branch is mistakenly interpreted as some kind of a bridge, but it's going pretty well. All right, let me rotate it around. Or if I just want to keep it, excuse me, my pen is a little bit sensitive, I can just hit on and create a new version. So let me do that. All right, this is also looking nice with these. Now we will have roots like this. We will create those. The patches of grass are also fun. All right, that's enough inspiration. So for sure, what I do like is this supporting construction. That's neat. And also we have the rails, and I like the concept of having a rooftop. Okay, and of course the branches and everything will be much more fresh and full, but as a general idea, it's pretty neat. Okay, so let me stop this sharing and buckling up with these ideas, and later on I will save these images from the video for myself. Okay, so stop sharing and let us look back to the ZBrush file we have, and pressing tab to get back the user interface and the dividers, and there we go. Okay, so rooftop, supporting beams, terrace as an entry, if we want to put in here a few things, and the roots. So now what I will do, I will select this one, this guy, and copy it and use the cursor, scale it down, stretch it out, and stretch it, and just looking for as kind of a supporting beam. Maybe, excuse me, maybe let's stretch out. Okay, where we are. Yeah, thickness is important. We don't want to make it overly thick. Maybe this is like that. So Shift F. There we go. So that's kind of a location where we can support this house. Let me move it closer to the tree. Okay. A little bit further, just to make sure that we have enough space, but we don't want to lose too much space. So that's working fine. And Ctrl Shift D and another supporting beam. Yeah. Good. And maybe in the back as well. Or we have 4. Yeah, we have 4. Moving it around. And yes, Ctrl Shift T and having the last one. Okay. So these are the supporting elements. If they are too thick, we can still dial them down. Let me see what's going on with some shadows. So if we have the shadows, it will cast a little bit. So early on, it's good to know how much you can do. Alright, so these are the supporting. Now my problem is with this support is just too strong, so I will reduce this support, maybe keep 1 at the back, 2 at the back, and these will be somewhat different. So these supports should be like angled, so that would be my goal. Reduce the size and just simply creating a different type of support here. And there we go, moving it up. Yes, and Ctrl Shift D and copy and reset the orientation. And this is just a tiny log that is used to support. So when you have a structure like this, this beam should go and rest on something that is sufficiently attached to the surface. So you can use huge nails to this or any kind of a screwing process, and this log is just resting on this one. And the reason to have this is because the drive of the forces, this force, is the best way to handle is if it's directly attached to the surface. And if you just have it this way, you can use bolts, but they may slip off or they may be damaged over the years. So usually these kind of a supporting cushioning pieces are used to have a better construction. So same thing, let me just select this one and delete. The delete button is placed here, so subtool, and you have the delete button. And I'm selecting this guy, and V, and Ctrl Shift and D, and just move it over. And this guy, Ctrl Shift and D, and move it over. Okay, so that is the design part, and we will refine it. We will go further, but this is what we want to look for now. So Shift I. I'm sorry. There we go, and Shift R, and see how it goes. Okay, so this is a lot nicer, and we can place the door here. We can work on the rest, but right now, as a general idea, this looks fine. What else? We need to create a terrace, so I will just copy this one, Ctrl Shift T, and move it to the bottom. And this will be the entry, basically, of this house. And this rock, it may be not used. Oh yeah, it's good. We want to keep it, but maybe scale it down. Or even better, if we are using and angling this entry and this rock, what we are looking for, this is not needed to be that high. Okay, so this is looking fine. The entry should be here. We have some roots here and there. I like the idea, so let me just drag this, move it back. So when we have a camera, the main camera may be coming from here. And we have a nice canopy. There's this treehouse, the branches and the roots are crawling out, which was great. And what else we had with the idea? We can actually create a little. So this is now one single block in flat, and copy it, and just moving it around. And I will just reduce the size and look for adding some playfulness. Okay, like a little tower or something. There we go. Okay, maybe even further. This is covering a lot of branches, so I'm not sure that it needs to be at the front. Maybe in the back. Oh yeah, that's nice. And especially we have the support here, so it seems to be logical that we are placing that volume over there. Good. And just to have a little bit of breaking up this silhouette, I'm also copying this plate and reducing the width and creating kind of an extra balcony. And if we have kind of a scientist living here, we can actually just shift it, and this could be kind of a landing, or a zone where someone can walk out and look around. That would be nice. Okay, so that would be nice. Now it's time to finalize and work on the branches and work on the roots, and I will show you the principles. But as a general idea, this is what we have, and this is creating exciting forms for the project. Okay, so what else to do? We need a figure. So if we press Q to draw mode, BI, and insert, and we want to use an insert mesh with BIO, IMM tune, and this is the Circuit Tux tune. Let me select this guy, drag it out, and there we go. Now this is automatically masked. A little ugly piece, but great for proportions. So right now this guy is laying on down like a dwarf, and we have this split unmasked point, split mask point. So I will use split mask point, and that means we are free to go and move around our character. So there we go. And let me just hit on the reset orientation. So that's what we do. And we can reduce the size and just play with the size. Okay. So this will be the figure size. Now, before you do any design, even if there is no character, you don't know about the thing, you have to keep that in mind, that the design of yours should be accessible by the average character size. Okay, if it's a tiny character, big character, normal human size. If you have a door, if you have a window, that should use the same proportions, the same principles. So here, this figure should be a little bit smaller, I guess. And let me just turn off perspectivity and look at the front view and just lift this up and move it around. And also Ctrl-Shift-D and lift him up at the top floor and see if this sizing is working perfectly or not. If you want to create a human figure, there are human figures. For example, you can use the tool. So open up a new model, and here Lightbox, and Lightbox contains projects. We need tools, and in the tools palette we have a dog. So if this, for example, this figure has a dog, we can just load this up, and here's the dog. Let me show this. And we can go back to our Treehouse project and just insert the dog if we wish. So insert, and there we go, doggy, and move. Just lift them up, and there we go. So I think the proportion is fairly nice. Okay, so the dog is there. All right. So here we are with the figure. Maybe the top house should be larger. So even if we have a door here that could be large enough, this part should be somewhat larger. Maybe not just in height, but in overall dimensions. Let me lift this up a little bit higher. Okay, that's nice. The figure, can we walk around? Do we have enough space to walk around, or we do need more? I think you need more if you want to make happen the figure walking out here, or you want to fly with your camera and watch it from different direction. You have to keep it in mind. So even if you have a concept art that someone else did, and on the concept art looks a certain way, that still will not. It still won't be good, so you have to model the way it works with your scene, it works with the story, otherwise it's not usable. So here we are, start working on the roots. Now, how to work on the roots? We have, so as you know, we can create a queue and drag out a joint. But this joint is right now, it's floating in the air. So if we're selecting, it's floating in the air. It's not really following anything that's coming from the rocks. But when it's selected and you turn on transparency, and you have, by default, you have this ghost mode on. So if you turn off ghost mode, and you have the model, and I'm pressing V to be able to click on the model. I don't want to move it. I'm just using V for the movement force selection. That's nothing else. Maybe a BST brush. Nope. Let me just drop it and BST and want to see something else. Okay. Let me click on something else, not this one. Alright, BST brush, just because of the header, excuse me. So, selecting tree, and now V, and there we go. So now the header is not that big, so we can select this guy. And we can go to draw mode, and when you are doing this, so here's the model selected, Q. This is actually making a trick. Selecting the model, and as you're rotating around, so here's a rock. And draw mode, and I'll start drawing it out, that will snap to the surface. And it snaps to the surface. So as I'm walking around and creating this root, it is actually following the surface. Now the problem with it, if you accidentally or for purpose, on purpose, you're moving in a joint, you have to go back and make sure that the last joint is selected by pressing W and tapping on it. And you can go back to Q and draw it again. And again, if you press Shift, it will match to the size. It's not necessarily have to be that way, but if you have a longer, if you plan to create a longer root, it could be handy. So drawing it out, and right now I'm just moving across here. Oh, that was a bad move. So W, hitting on Q, and you need to rotate around and look where it goes. And this will go into the cracks. Okay, I'm just playing with this, and this is a little bit smaller. So let me press W, selecting this part, and maybe a branch will start from here. So Q and start and draw out. So again, transparency on, ghosting off. And you can do this thing, and if you press A, this is how it looks. Let me turn on off transparency, and this can generate some really nice effects. Okay, now that is the principle. Now the other thing is, of course, as you see, it's a little bit jaggy. So I will start another branch, and then I will discuss a few things on the go. Of course, to build up this whole tree, it takes a lot more time and a lot more fine-tuning, but the principles are the same. So let me switch back, create another root here. So draw mode, drawing it out, and maybe one more. I'll simply create it and move. So I'm not really worried right now if it's sticking on the surface or not. I will keep it as it is. Size, okay. Maybe this one, looking for preview. Okay, that looks nice. So W, and then turning on solo mode. I'm sorry, transparency mode, and just to make it a little bit easier, X, Y, Z coordinates switch to Y, so rotation is a little bit easier. And W, select the element, rotate around to have a clue about this whole thing. And here's a big rock, and I want to climb up with the root just because it looks good. So using this one, walking up, looking around, Q, and drawing it out. There we go. And so these roots are looking for some nutritious soil. There we go. Okay, so let me look at the main camera where we should watch from this. Watch this. Pressing A. So that's nice. Okay, so it's looking promising. All right, perspective. It's even better. So we have the figure, we have the right size. Somewhat we can create windows and other things just as a design idea. You can also select this and move it around, create a door, whatever. This is the best approach. So instead of start modeling like nonstop, and layout is the best for consulting, for solving issues. Now, okay, so looking for the branches. Here's the branch, and we want to create a few more. And honestly, I think these are a little bit oversized, so we can give it a go and try to scale them down. I'm using the Alt key. Okay, so this is another trick that you can use. if you're hitting on a joint and using Alt, even for move, for scaling, for rotation, that affects all the elements usually. Okay, so Alt is useful pretty much in here. Q, insert, and move it around, and just move around here. And here, this one is also fairly big. Let me reduce the size of this. And again, Q, inserting, moving around. Okay, so it looks like a lot more like a tree branch. All right, so that's the goal. Here, my problem with this is it looks fairly boring. So I'm gonna select this key. If I made accidentally something, no. Select this sphere and just move it a little bit to the bottom. So now it has a little bit of an angle. And maybe inserting here another one, move it up, and Q, and just creating a tiny branch that goes from here, and Q, and holding Shift to have a same size, and lift this up, and Q, and holding Shift. So now this is how it looks. We have a branch that's really close to the cabin. So from this angle, from this view, for example, it looks nice. It looks promising. Here, I'm not sure that this one should be that way. I'm not decided yet, so I will just draw it here as an extension. And we can hang down a few things. Something is here. It's up to you. Just giving you ideas what to do. Okay, looks great. Looks nice. We can work on the rooftops as well. We can also do it in Blender, but right now this is a kind of a general idea. And of course, if you're moving on with the branches, I will create a few more. Then it would be a lot more spectacular. So Q, inserting here and scaling it down, scaling these down. And moving it around. There we go. Q and passing on it. There we go. And also from this direction, so we can use the simple move tool just to add up. All right. Good. A few more branches here. So Q and looking around. Now when you have so many branches, you can also look for how the camera should go and look inside the house if it's a necessity, so from above. So if you have a window here, that may be a good option to keep some kind of a hole in it, and it could be a nice composition if the camera looks through here. So if you are just designing something, or you have to create something that you don't know yet how exactly it will be used, it's really easy to do it in a concepting phase, but it's really hard to do it once you're done. So again, Q, and just create another bridge and walking around. V and Q, and walking around. And inserting. Okay, so to make it a little bit more convincing, we should reduce these sizes. Okay, so if it's too rounded like this, it looks off, even if it's not completed, and surely it's not completed. Let me just check the main view. So here's the main view. These needs to be turned. This is a little bit boring, so I'm going to use R to turn things around. Yes, this looks more like a tree. Okay, there we go. Q, excuse me, V. All right, it's this one. Let me delete this one. Okay, something is off with it. We have this. All right. I'm gonna press A, see it for myself. Okay, looks great. Now, so that's it for today. These are the principles you can use. Building up the basic boxes to create a layout, distribute the rocks around, think of the foundational orientation, and keep in mind the composition and the proportions with the figures. All right, thank you very much, and see you next time. Goodbye.